presence trying to help the transgender community. Back in the late 90s, I met Lynn Conway, Professor Lynn Conway. She's a very famous transsexual woman. She and a team at IBM were responsible for creating the first microchips. So without her and her team that she worked on, we would not be using the computer or the internet today. But when they found out that she was a post-op transsexual, they fired her. And she went on to be a professor in universities and had a great life, got married, had a great life. And she was the first one that started making websites. Of course, we didn't have anything like Facebook or YouTube or any of those things then. So she created a website to help transsexuals find information and doctors and things that they needed. And her philosophy was that the early transitioners who had already went through this years ago, we had a responsibility to help the ones coming up see us, to see that we were successful, we were happy following our transitions and surgeries. So that's what prompted me to start doing something online. This was in the late 90s. The first thing I created was a website called Trans World News. And I put up all the latest information that was available back then for transsexuals. Information on doctors and therapies and things. So anything that was going on as far as the transsexual world, it was slowly becoming known as transgender. And we were assuming that the name change meant that it was just a new name for us, but it wasn't. We know what all happened to that. And the second website that I created was Cafe Trans Arabi for the Middle Eastern trans people who really had it hard finding any information. And that one really took off. And I started translating pages from English and into Arabic so that they could read it. And after that, Lynn thought that was a great idea, so she started translating all her pages into all languages that people could read it. It was great. And then the last website was the International Transsexual Sisterhood. But all this time, I was not putting pictures of me, how I looked at the time, and I was not using my name. I was using the name Yasmin. And I put pictures of me when I was young, so I looked totally different than what I was really looking at the time, so that I could stay, you know, private. It wasn't until during the pandemic that I actually came out to the world, as far as the internet world, that I, myself, was transsexual. So that's the reason I got started. And the pandemic made me think, well, I've always wanted to tell my story. I'd always been trying to gather my thoughts and write pages in my book. I thought I may never get that done, so I started telling my story. That's the only reason I did that. And I had finished doing that a couple years ago as far as everything I wanted to put online. And then I got upset with what was going on with these transgender people. That's what prompted me to come back and get mad. Because there's no sense in this. There's no sense in all this trouble that they're giving the world. But the thing is that so many of the genetic people, they still say we're all the same. Doesn't matter. Even though we're trying to stand behind them and what they're thinking to a certain degree, but they say we have no right to say anything. None. No. We're all part of the problem. But the transsexuals went on about our business and nobody knew what was going on. No. So we were not the problem. We were the reason they thought they could get by with it because we had gotten by with it for so long. But we weren't going out causing a hoopla. We weren't doing those things. So, yeah, well. And I'm sorry if some of those genetic-born females are jealous of me. Because for somebody pushing 70, I look pretty damn good. I know. I have eyes. I have eyes, and it's not just what people say to me online. I can't go to the grocery store without some man that knows that I'm trans trying to hit on me. So I know what I am. I know what I look like. I know everything. I'm not stupid. I may be Asperger's. What Asperger's means is I have a delayed reaction in my head. It's not like I'm totally brain dead and I don't figure it out. It takes me a little bit. I may not be able to speak good at one time if I haven't thought about it. But that's the way it is. If you want to make fun of me for anything, I don't give a shit. Because when I go out of this world, I think they're going to say she had a good time. She was happy. She lived a good life. And I want other people to do that too. And you're not going to be able to do it until you break away from the transgenders. If you're transsexual, say no. No more. No more being lumped with those trans-testicle men. Now, everybody should have a fun life and have a good life and a happy life. But they should not be infringing on other people. Now, if you take yourself in a female space, and there's anything about you that looks male, I think you should be arrested if you go in. Because I've never had any problems. I've went anywhere. I've went anywhere. You hear me? I belong to gyms and swimming clubs and all kinds of things like that. But I didn't have a penis. I went right in, done my thing, put on my bathing suit or my workout clothes, and went on about my business like everybody else was. And everybody should be able to do the same thing. But if you're not able to pass and go in there, you should stay your ass out. Because I, for one, do not want to make anybody else feel uncomfortable. I have respect for everybody. Enough to say that I don't want them to feel bad. Now, I don't have respect for people who think I should not exist. That I should not have done what it takes to make me happy. To make me where I could live. Now, if you begrudge me to be happy, then you can go to hell. You don't make a damn to me. You don't matter. You were those same few people that were out there from the beginning. They were always people that did not want to accept it, but we didn't matter. But, y'all, I have to tell you, there are a lot of accepting people out there. Just these few that do the bad comments, they're just the minority. We've got some great people out there. Regular, ordinary, genetically born people that are loving and accepting. Heterosexuals, homosexuals, lesbians, that people from all walks of life that are loving and accepting to us to a degree. But they also do not believe in these children being transitioned until they're adults. And they don't like people going out and causing a hoopla and acting like they ought to be allowed to do anything they want to do just because they are saying they are transgender. Those people should be arrested. I keep saying that. In my day, if you went in public and they could spot that you weren't how you were supposed to be, they could arrest you because impersonating of opposite sex was against the law, even when I was transitioning. So you didn't do things unless you knew for a fact you could pass, that you could fit in, not just pass. Passing has more to do with not just how you look, but how you are, how you act, how you go out in public. Trans women can have deep voices as long as what they say is female. How they react is female. It doesn't have to always be a real light tone, because a lot of bigger women have deeper voices. That's fact. You wouldn't see some big-ass woman that had the bitty voice. She'd look funny, wouldn't she? Now, I can't say that I looked like a perfect woman. No. I looked like a glandular woman because I was tall. But I had more than one doctor who did not know that I was trans. Now, sometimes I went to doctors for different things. It didn't have anything to do with anything that they needed to know I was trans. Colds and shit. So, I had more than one doctor that would look at me and do all this shit and say, your body is perfectly proportioned for your height. Perfectly proportioned. Because most tall women, if you notice, they're narrow-shouldered, narrow hips, and small boobs. And that's what most tall women look like. They're lanky. And very few tall women are built like I am. So I look glandular. But when they look at me, when they look at my features, and they study my skin, and they study my reactions, that's it, female. There's never that click that goes off in their heads and says, oh, you're a man. No, that's never, ever happened to me. I traveled this friggin' world, I tell y'all. I've lived in Germany, I've lived in Bangkok, and I've lived in the Middle East. Now, the Middle East is somewhere you could get your head cut off. I went with my husband. Of course, he knew my tea, but his family didn't. And I hated his mother, and his mother hated me for the simple fact that I was older than my husband. And he said, she's too old to have babies. She had no idea that I was trans. So, I've been able to do anything I wanted to do and never thought about it, never put it in my mind, because I knew you could touch my skin, you could, anything, and there was nothing that was a male marker on me. I was just a big-ass woman, and I had that security and that confidence. If you got the confidence of going out, just don't ever admit the shit. Sometimes I look down like I'm reading something, but I'm actually just looking to try to gather my thoughts. Asperger's, remember that. Y'all, I do want things to be better in this trans community. It worries me. It worries me that they're going to get to the point that people are going to be going out and hurting them. I mean, really hurting them. And they're going to feel justified. And I would hate for some of that backlash to come up on me. I mean, if stuff starts happening because of these men, everybody knows me here. Everybody knows I'm trans. If they get on a roll and they want to get all the trans people, I'm the only trans in 100 miles. I'd be the only one they could get. Now, I do get silly. Because y'all know I used to do the Granny Maid comedy thing, so I know how to get real silly. And I love to laugh. That's the reason I hate people to get so darn serious and mean with those comments, because I like to laugh. I like to have fun. I like to lighten everything. And when people say bad things to me, I'm thinking, damn, They don't really know me. That I'm all fake and everything. I'm just as silly and crazy in real life. Just nothing fake. I just try to act precise. I try to act in a way that I know my mama taught me to act. My mom and daddy taught all of their kids how to act accordingly. We were taught how to act like human beings are supposed to act. And in a way, I guess that makes me feel like I'm a cut above, because I know I was raised well, and I was supported well, and I was loved, and I missed my family. Do you think I would have the time to do anything like these videos if my family were still living? No, I had a great life with my folks. No. They wouldn't be having anything to do with none of this. No. So, all right, y'all. I'm going to get off here because I'm up here in the chapel part of my store. And it's cold in here. I haven't had the heat turned on. Okay, y'all. Tranny Granny. Signing off.